Gentlemen, we'll call this meeting to order here today for our March 27, 2025 special call board meeting. Our first item on the agenda today would be the corrective action plan. Mr. John Koss. It's all yours.
No, it's not. He's got it.
Before he gets started, I asked Mr. Cost, would he review this after action plan and corrective action plan, and due to his background, give some comments. And I believe he also attended the meeting in Essex County the other night between, I think it was a joint finance committee between the board and the school board, and they voted on to take over the school's finances. So he's got some information to share on it as well, and I want to thank him for taking the time to make his presentation up.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again. It was great to be able to follow up after my comments kind of off the cuff at the last meeting, where I suggested that the Board of Supervisors perhaps play a more integral role in the finances of the school. So this slide deck is relatively short, open for questions. Matt, if you'll skip to the first slide. I don't know if you guys have this or not on your screens. I'm not going to go through this. This is my background why I've got some relevance to this, but I have no vested interest in anything the county's doing other than as a taxpayer and who wants to see the schools do better. So you can go through that. Anyway, so the issues I mentioned last week is not about accounting, it's about accountability and where we stand based on my observation. The forensic audit really addresses a number of issues around finance, accounting, management, personnel, and stuff like that. But ultimately, the big problem here is actually a political issue. It's what we call governance, where somebody has power, others think they also have the power, so who ultimately has the decision? So in this particular case, you've got serious issues around budgeting, spending outside of budgets, management oversight and procedures, and the whole integrity of how tax dollars are being used. And all of the findings in the audit, the forensic audit, note that the superintendent is ultimately responsible for all of those things. But as you know, this second to last bullet is going to be no surprise to you. There's currently very little trust between the Board of Supervisors and the school board and NCPS leadership. Perhaps that was an understatement. But given the audit findings, let me ask you sort of a rhetorical question here, the first red line there. Even if the school system were to resolve all of your concerns, how can you be certain at this point, given the lack of trust and accountability and transparency that's been in the recent past? How does the Board of Supervisors know exactly what is going on with over 50% of the county's budget? And how and when will the audit findings be completely addressed? There's already some confusion in the management response to the forensic audit, to the comprehensive or the corrective action plan. So if this is not addressed, how does the Board of Supervisors hold the school system accountable? That's the question you've been sort of trying to address for the past. I moved here 6 years ago, and it looks like it's been ongoing for a while. Let's go on to the next slide, Matt. So a phrase you probably heard from the 80s with President Reagan was trust but verify. So some general comments I'd have about the audit. The Board of Supervisors has no current means to validate, to verify the status of each of the recommendations being made other than the verbal testimony of school personnel. And there's been a lot of concern that you're not getting the full picture, as I've heard frequently said at this meeting. There are inconsistencies in accounts, overspending, inadequate reconciliation processes, and a complete lack of transparency, which has had a profound impact on the public trust, not just yours. So with regard to overspending, there's a clear tendency of the school system to ask for forgiveness after the fact rather than permission beforehand. They come in here at the last minute, and this is a classic bureaucratic strategy I'm very familiar with. I even used it once in my career, where you do it because it's got to be done in your mind, and then go in and ask for forgiveness for having done so and promise never to do it again. I've heard this record play over and over for the past few years here, and you guys are looking out for the county, you're looking out for the students, and ultimately you feel pressured to have to give forgiveness and to approve what they've asked for. But if you continue to do that, the same thing's going to continue to happen. Dr. Pika and her Joint Finance Committee work and all of her recommendations has made a number of very serious allegations, which undoubtedly the school board and school personnel dispute. All of it can be verified. This is not just opinions. There's empirical evidence that it is one way or it is another way. But how do you know? Because as Dr. Pika has mentioned, there's been a number of instances of things that she's alleged that the the school system has been unwilling to provide the documentation to prove one way or another. So who does the Board of Supervisors rely on to verify all of this? Several recommendations are time sensitive. They're time sensitive to you because you've got to approve the budget for next year. You've only got a few months left, 3 months and a few days. Notably, numbers 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, 21, and 22 all are going to affect how the budget is presented by the schools to you and what you do about it. Now, some of those things in the corrective action plan, the school board or the school administration indicates they're done. Do you know that? Have you got evidence of that? Have you been given satisfactory proof that that is the case? You should be receiving monthly reports on each of those eight items right now. And I know they've got a new finance director, and she's undoubtedly very busy, but this is about the integrity, the trust, and accountability that's going to go into building the next budget for the coming fiscal year. So given the current tensions, even if they do provide monthly reports, how do you verify they're accurate? What resources do you have as a Board of Supervisors, as the elected leaders of this county, to verify that, in fact, what they're telling you is complete, is in fact complete? And, you know, as you have well noticed, the frequent finance director turnover doesn't help with the trust issues. It suggests monthly reports themselves are insufficient. I've been involved with, in the previous roles that I've served in my career, I've been involved with literally hundreds, if not thousands, of governments around the world. There are lots of coincidences that happen that make things messy, difficult to deal with, but 5 finance directors in 6 years, we're way beyond coincidence at this point. Something's going on there. Matt? So the bottom line. So in particular, items 1, 2, 5, and 20, and if you look at the corrective action plan, you can see specifically what they are. I'm not going to go through those in the interest of time. Those are the things directly related to overspending, how things are accounted for, and so forth. They go to the heart of the political tension and the trust issues between you and the school board and the school administration. I would hope everyone will agree with the next sentence that it is in the interest of all parties that these 4 items be resolved to everyone's satisfaction as soon as possible. You don't have time. You've got 3 months to get the next budget done. They've got to be resolved. Do you know how each of them is progressing at this point? So some of the questions that I would pose is, how do we get these 4 issues resolved ASP, Matt? Does the school system have the will and the means to resolve them ASAP? Third, how does the Board of Supervisors confirm that they are resolved to your satisfaction in order to restore trust in the school system? I'm actually going to propose some answers, what the correct answers might be. The first one to the first question, the superintendent and finance director should assess exactly where each of these 4 issues stands right now and report back to you when they're ready, no later than 2 weeks, with specific details and evidence about numbers 1, 2, 5, and 20 from the corrective action plan. We're not waiting for further report findings from audits and stuff like that. We're way beyond that now, as Mr. Brandon and I discussed the other day. We are now into how do you do your jobs as the elected leaders of this county. Those 4 will determine your ability to be successful in doing that. Number 2, if school system lacks the resources, the means to get this resolved, it should tell you that. Now, I think they've already gotten some help, and that's great. But if they're not going to get it done, if they don't have that help, if they haven't got the people to do it, you need to know that. But so far, they haven't said that. But if it lacks the will, that is, they don't want to do it, that will become apparent soon enough, and the board should then consider its powers to address that, which I then will move on to number 3. The board must determine how it will be made comfortable that these issues are resolved. And my suggestions are one of the following 3. Number 1, hire a county finance director or auditor reporting directly to you, as I said 2 weeks ago, to permanently ensure this is working. Hire an auditor temporarily to oversee these findings on a weekly basis and report back to the board. The challenge with that one is that the auditor may or may not have actual access to the data to be able to see what's going on in order to verify it. Most importantly, C, have the school finance director report directly to the Board of Supervisors rather than the school superintendent. Now, that's a different situation. It's not one that you've had here before. You folks have been relying on Luttrell to do the leadership of the county. He does a great job in doing that, but the school's beyond his purview, so you depend on the information and resources from the schools, and that's tough to keep track of. Now, Mr. Brand and I were chatting earlier in the week, and he alerted me to the fact that the Essex County folks have been going through a similar sort of situation. By wonderful coincidence, Tuesday night, they had their joint finance meeting. So I had nothing better to do because I'm retired. So I drove down there and sat through it, and oh my, was it eye-opening. So they have a very similar situation. Years of financial irregularities, inaccurate budgets and overspending, lack of transparency, lack of trust, poor communication between the school board and supervisors. You heard this movie before? But here's the good news. Here's where it begins to differ. At the joint finance meeting on Tuesday night, they were all there. They were all sitting at the table. One person was absent due to a work commitment. So 9 people sitting around the table, doing their jobs, having conversation, communication. Now, there were tensions, to be sure, but they were all there, unlike here. And I wrote this one down. I was so stunned by it. During the course of the meeting, the chair of the school board admitted, and I quote, "We were unaware of what was going on." That makes them a step ahead of us, too, because our school board chair has not acknowledged there's a problem. Either she's unaware or is hiding it, doesn't want us to be aware of it. Now, the other cool thing that happened at the board meeting, joint finance meeting Tuesday night, was that one of the school board members is actually vocally supporting change. So the next bullet, the chief business advisor, I'll get to that right now. What they've done there is they've hired what's currently called a chief business advisor. She reports directly to the Board of Supervisors. Her job is to oversee the budget of the school board, every level of detail. She has complete read-write access. She is a county employee. She was hired away from a consulting firm that does this kind of work, very capable. She was very impressive in that meeting. And she's working with at least one of the members of the school board and the school board staff to figure out exactly what's going on, how bad's the problem. They did a presentation on Tuesday night about the current predicament around grants, federal grants. I know that's a problem here too. They are getting their feet under all of that to fully understand what's going on. They're prioritizing the problems. So the ultimate plan in Essex County is that there's going to be a services agreement. It's in negotiation right now. They're working through understanding exactly how complex the problem is. And under this service agreement, the school finances will be permanently managed by the county. And so the person that would be doing this was there. She gave preliminary findings, actions being taken, and has been acknowledged the cooperation of the school finance staff. Now, the meeting, again, was still very tense. The school board chair said, I'm really objecting to micromanagement. A member of the Board of Supervisors pointed out, if you had done your job, we wouldn't have to. So there were tensions there, but they're getting them on the table. It should be noted, the last 3 bullets, these are quite important and probably pretty far out there. School board has voted unanimously in favor of this arrangement so far. They are actively participating. They help make it happen. The school superintendent is on administrative leave, and the school finance director has been terminated. So I sat through the meeting, and afterwards I had a chance to speak with the board chair, Rob Akers, and another supervisor named John Magruder. They gave me a lot more verbal history. They told me some things I'm not putting on a slide. I'm happy to share with you in private. But there is great progress being made there. Like I said, it's still tense. But at least now, as we say, the kimono is open. People are examining the body to figure out what's going on and what to do about it. One last slide, and I'll come back to that. I went through the corrective action plan and looked at specific items here. There's 8, 9 up there, something like that, and offered specific comments about not only the current condition, but what the school superintendent or her staff said is the current state of those things. The point of my recommendation is to you, the Board of Supervisors, things that you can be doing right now on those specific items to ensure that, in fact, corrective action is occurring. But let me state again, these are not nearly as important as those other 4 I mentioned earlier. Those things are time sensitive. You got to deal with them now. There are some inconsistencies in their response to the audit. Those are worth looking at, but I don't want to go through those now. They're not as important as the political issues before you. I'm going to stop there, see if you have any questions.
Board members have any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It seems that one thing that we haven't been able to do, and I'm in favor of both boards meeting together. In essence, they met together, right?
They did, yeah.
Right. See, I don't know why is the problem over here for us to bring that about. It shouldn't be, you know. One of us the elected officials, and we here to represent the citizens and the students, not ourselves. You got to put that aside and do your job. It's simple.
My observation is you've done your job, you've called the meetings, and you have the meetings.
Mr. Long, I want to help you with that.
Okay.
I want to make a motion that we have the county administrator send an email on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to the assistant superintendent to pass along to each school board member, offer them a meeting with this board, and let's talk about the same thing Essex done. I would like to see us start negotiations and have some type of finance agreement or be able to work toward a goal to take the school's finances and bring it in with the counties to where everything's on the same page. They will still have their budget, be responsible for their budget, but we will have someone overseeing all of the county finances. See if we could come to that table and let's have a discussion on that.
Well, what's that person that Essex hired? What was the name of that?
They called it a chief business advisor. That title will change after the services agreement is completed. Her title currently is chief business advisor. Let me look at my notes just to make sure I have that right.
And while he's looking, I think that would be a good start.
Right.
I think it's a lot been going on in the school system over the years. I think they, all due respect, I think they're in over their head. I think they need a way out. I think we need to offer them that way out, is to help take over the finances and have someone in the county in charge of it.
I think we need to hire that position, that Essex County hired. Finances in order.
I was right. It is chief business advisor, if you want to put that in your notes, yeah.
Got a motion? Have a second?
Can you repeat the motion one more time?
To hire chief, what is it?
Chief business advisor.
Chief business advisor.
Mr. Brand, repeat your motion.
My motion is to have the county administrator an email on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to the assistant superintendent to pass along to the school board members, to offer them a meeting, to come together with, both boards come together and have a discussion on their finances and offer them the opportunity of the county and go in negotiations with the county on how to take over their finances and to assist them, Essex done with their school board.
Yeah.
I think, and like I said, all due respect, I think a lot's going on there. I think they're in over their head. Things haven't gotten any better. And I just think it would work better if it was all under one umbrella, for lack of a better term. flow by the county, would know where funds are going, how they're going out. The school would still have control of their budget like they do now. But I think we ought to bring them in, let's look at what they've done across the river, and let's see if we can have that talk and work toward that goal.
Well,
Right now, we're doing nothing.
but in the last meeting, county's attorney was supposed to talk to the school board's attorney. Wasn't that right? For the boards, if you check your notes, for the boards to meet together?
I believe that was on a different matter, Mr.
Yeah,
Long.
a different subject.
But I know they,
But I think this needs to be solely on the finance part.
Yeah, it needs solely be on the finance. I agree with you 100%, but we need it done ASAP. And we need to
I
have a
agree.
meeting.
I agree,
I
and we can
still-
set it up
We
for 2
we
weeks.
can't drag this on anymore because we have a budget that needs to be presented. Our budget cycle is here. We're going to be late on the budget now because it should have been presented back in February.
I still think we need to hire that position, you know.
Mr. Long, we can talk about that after we get this straight.
If they don't agree to it, then there's no need to hire that position. We will have to do something different. But,
You know, that's where we need to get both boards.
yes, sir. So I think they need to know right up front why we want to meet. And let's get it out on the table and have that discussion.
I'm going to second your motion. However, my comment would be, why would we be optimistic that they're going to sit down with us this time?
It's, right now, it's for them to decide. We are trying to, we're trying to make something happen here to fix some of the problems that we're having. If they choose not to meet with us, that's fine. At least this board is trying to make an effort to make something good come out of this. We spent a lot of taxpayers' money in this audit, and everybody spent a lot of time in trying to figure out what's going on the school side and on the county side.
A lot of pressure coming from the community. Out there a lot.
Yes, sir.
And, so they're good for them.
Pressure in what form?
Pressure in that, okay, in one instance, one total class of seniors didn't have a teacher. A lot of things going on. Parents are not satisfied with it. Finances, or I've heard a lot of people don't understand why the two boards can't meet together. And elected officials and representing citizens. Big problem for that to happen.
All right, got a motion and a second. Anyone else want to discuss anything? Will I call for a vote? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? All right, Mr. Fisher's not here, so it's a 4 votes approved and list Mr. Fisher is absent. All right, would you get that out tomorrow or today, whenever you have time?
Didn't mean to cut you off, but I had that on my mind.
Yeah, sorry.
Mr. Cost, you have anything else you need?
A follow-up to what you're suggesting here, if going forward with that, I would suggest, and by the way, I did speak with Mr. Akers, the chairman of the board, and he would be glad to come and meet with you to walk you through what they've gone through, the details of the relationship with the chief business advisor and so forth, so you don't have to go into this blindly. Because to your point, if in fact you go forward in that direction, which I would strongly encourage, it would be good to start writing the job description now. Because time is moving on here, as you correctly pointed out.
Cost,
Yes.
when was the chief business advisor hire in the timeline of what you presented tonight?
Great question. I'm not entirely sure what the formal hiring day was. She started this month, and the amount she's accomplished already has been stunning. The presentation was amazing, so
Did they have other personnel changes that coincided with that hire?
Well, sort of. Yeah, the current finance director for the schools was terminated, but that was actually before that. And the plan ultimately, under the services agreement, that people currently in finance in the schools will move under that role, but that hasn't happened. They're sort of doing that temporarily. But to my knowledge, no other formal job description changes or position changes came up during the course of the discussion.
All
On
right.
behalf of the taxpayers, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time out. All right. Board members, you have any other comments or questions? And since we have a few people here, citizens here tonight, do you have any comments over what you just seen and heard?
I thought it was an excellent presentation, and it makes some underlying points that I don't know that John pointed out. It doesn't throw rocks at anybody. In fact, Jimmy Brand's plan doesn't really throw rocks at anybody. If that's not an olive branch, I don't know what is. And that's probably the only healthy approach we can take at this point. I would just endorse what he's saying, and all of the points that he made, especially the first four that need to be addressed. That's critical. I don't know how fast you guys can move, but I expect to see rubber burning on those 4 points. And if we miss this opportunity that we're trying to create here, I don't even want to think about what happens after that if we can't make it happen. It just gets ugly. But I think it's an excellent plan laid out, and it needs to be followed aggressively. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I got one thing. The 4 bullet points that he was referencing on the slide presentation, could you separate those out and email them out to the board members and let us take a look at them, and let's revisit those bullet points the next board meeting? I think if we don't get it in place to review them and we go over them and get some ideas of what direction we need to go in, we're not going to, it's not going anywhere.
All right. Well, any other comments on this before we move on? Next would be county, next would be the county administrator's items.
I got you.
You set me up. Put it upside down.
All right, next item we have is the Extension Office HVAC unit. This would be a new unit, and we had received some estimates from Southern Air, and if you just let the board know that the board had entered into an agreement. It was cooperative procurement with Southern Air, and we had gotten an estimate from them. However, that estimate was high, and the board asked that we go back and ask for several other estimates from several other vendors. In your packet, you have those estimates. They range from a Goodman unit to a Bosch unit to a Concord unit. So I don't know if the board has any questions, if there's any additional information you all would like us to find out, or how you would like to proceed. Currently, the Extension Office has an older boiler unit, and they have the AC window units. So.
that like I'll look at it, but it's not in my package now. It all vanished.
I don't have them in mind, either.
I don't have any of it right now. I'm looking at some emails we just sent. Yeah. Yeah, I had that open here. I'll give you 1 second here. All in there.
Are you logged in?
Yeah. Supposed to be. Maybe I need to,
I think you might be.
maybe it's not logged in now. Oh, it says log back in. Something happened. Yeah,
You need to try.
let me re-log back in.
Got it.
Looks better now. Finally come back. I don't know how it got offline. I guess I might have hit something. All right, I see you got the 5 bids here. I think, well, gentlemen, kind of look at what you got here. Not much difference between them.
Talking about between the 4 new ones, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at the 2 pieces of equipment for Goodman. They're both 5 tons. One's a 16.1 SEER and one's a 15 SEER, so there is a little bit of difference there. Let's see. I don't have it bid. I don't have it bid in front of me from, yeah, I do. I don't have it, but it doesn't say what refrigerant it is. Bosch bid. There's nothing wrong with the R410A refrigerant. That's being phased out. Right. Some pieces of equipment right now that are 15 years old, you can't get parts for them. They've just taken it right off the list. No parts available. The 454R equipment, refrigerant, that's the new replacement refrigerant, and I think we ought to go with that instead of the R410A. Because over the years, you're going to find that the price of R410 is going to start this number. Just like R12 did and R22 has done. It's gone way up. It's going to become very difficult to get, and parts for the equipment are going to become difficult to get. Actually, they're going to stop producing the parts, so you'll be forced to make a switch. I don't want to have to make a switch in 10 years to another piece of equipment. I'd rather do it now and get 15 plus years out of that equipment. That's the only thing I'm looking at right here. That's one, not the only thing, that's one of the things I'm looking at. I believe we need to go back. We don't have to make a decision on this today. We can make a decision on this on our next board meeting. I don't think we would press that much over, Mr. Tadlock.
Yeah, it's
All right.
just, let us know any questions you have.
All right.
And we can,
But what I want to do is I want to revisit these. I want to go back to them and make sure that it's the R454B refrigerant that we'll be using. And it's just, if it was the same thing now, if we were using the R22 refrigerant and the R410 was coming out, I would suggest that you go to the R410. Just, this is being, the R410A is being phased out, so you need to make the switch now. If any of these bids in here are on R410A, the bid will have to be adjusted because the R454 equipment is a little bit more, not much. A little bit more money, but it's more efficient. On top of that. Well, Mr. Tadlock, let's see if we can get together with these companies and revisit that.
Sure.
Have that ready for our next board meeting. If that's all right with the rest of y'all.
Yes.
and like I said, if you see any other items that you have questions on, let us know before
Yeah.
the next board meeting.
And I appreciate everything these companies have done, but I just want to make sure that it is 454B that we're getting from all of them. All right, any more questions, gentlemen? If not, we'll let Mr. Tadlock move on.
All right, next item is, it's a grant request from the Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Beecham is here.
Beecham, good to see you. Sheriff Beecham, good to see you tonight.
You as well. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members.
I'll give you 30 seconds.
Yes or no, can I have it?
That was quick enough.
Mr. Williams, we're ahead 5-1, top of the third. So, looking good so far.
Good.
All right, good evening. I'm here to seek board approval to apply for a Burn Justice Assistance Grant, or you may know it as a Burn Grant or JAG Grant. And these are typically for law enforcement equipment, and that's what I've asked for. Get to my list here. So there are, on the list of equipment that I'm looking for, there's an ATS-5 speed trailer. Now, this thing, if you've been through Essex County, it's a message board. It does your radar. There's red and blue lights that flash when you are above the speed limit or whatever set limit they have or are comfortable with. Currently, we have a small sign that we mount to the metal post of speed limit signs. We got one in Glee Point right now. So this one is powered by battery but charged by solar. So it's going to last much, much longer in the field. It's towable. We can set it up either for speed or messaging. It could be used for events, say like the Strawberry Festival coming up. We may set that up for whatever message we want to put on that to advise people driving what's ahead. So there are multiple uses other than just speed on this trailer. The second item on there is a Pro Laser LiDAR. So this is a speed measurement device handheld that uses a laser and is much more accurate than just a typical radar. And this particular model can probably go up to a mile away. I've been able, on our old unit, I was using it at Top Surprise Hill, aiming back towards Little River Market, which is about 4,600 feet. It'll tell you how far away it is, and I can pick a car up there. So The big difference is the handheld unit, you can point out any direction and have your car sitting perpendicular to the road, where with radars mounted in the car, we have to be parallel with the traffic to catch each. And radar works a little different than laser. Our current LiDAR is 18 years old, so I'm looking to replace that unit. And then the third item or items is 6 radar units. These are the latest from Custom Signal. We have at least one, maybe 2 we've got on a speed grant the last couple of years. We have 3 radars that are probably 20 years old, and they're failing by the month. And I don't want to put hundreds of dollars in these old units when I can hopefully replace with brand new units. The grant period is actually in fiscal year 26, so it would begin July 1st and runs through December 31st. And there is, this is a competitive grant, but they are going to give priority to applicants that can expend their funds by September. So I checked with the manufacturer of all this equipment, and the longest lead time is 30 days. So if you approve the application process, and then if we get the grant and you approve that, what I would request that, and this is a reimbursement grant, so that monies be available July 1, so I can order the equipment, have the 30-day lead time, and expend the funds by September. And we have to indicate that on the application, whether we can or cannot do that. So that may be part of your consideration as well. So the money, it is a 25% match, and it has to be local funds. So if you have federal funds, I don't think you have them on ARPA, but any type of federal funds that the county has, you cannot use that. It has to be local fund match. So if my math is mathing correctly, total expenditure would be $37,986.93. I had to take out $1,500 on the speed trailer quote because that is a yearly subscription. And if you read through the grant guidelines, you cannot pay for any subscription or program that goes beyond the grant period. So it's not a 6-month subscription, it's a year. So I took that out of the federal side and added it to the local fund side. So the way I have figured is the total expenditure, again, I gave, the county would be reimbursed $27,365.19 at the end of the grant period or sooner. The local match would be $10,621.74. I have identified $3,000 in a local account that I have, which would be the gun permit fee, that I can apply towards the local match, thus reducing the request from you to $7,621.74.
You said your 3,000 came from your gun
The
permit fee?
concealed weapon permit, yes.
Okay.
We have a small fee for that, and it builds up over time.
All right, let me ask you something here. On this 5-speed trailer,
Mhm.
all right, I see West Point has one of them down there also. They got one of those rigs down there flashing and everything. Flashing red lights, know if you're going over the speed limit.
Mhm.
Is this device capable of taking a picture of your license plate if you're speeding and then issuing an electronic ticket?
No. So we do not have the means to do that. So currently, what we have to do is we have to be in uniform and stop the person, identify the driver, and issue a Virginia uniform summons.
Right, but now, does it take a picture of the vehicle or anything like that?
It probably does, and I say probably, the little speed sign we have is supposed to take a picture at whatever speed we set it. So a very, very high speed, it's supposed to take a picture, and it does most of the time, but the picture is so grainy that we can't use it. You know, what we would use it for is, okay, you know, we're going to see this vehicle again. Has it come through multiple times? Do we need to sit and wait for this type of vehicle? It will not capture, it's so grainy you can't even see the license plate. So it may take a picture, but I'm not expecting it to be crystal clear enough for us to use it.
All right. And it has, now you're talking about the 5-speed trailer. All right,
AT5, yes, sir.
all right. Explain what that is to me, so I can understand it a little bit more.
Okay. I'll get to the quote, which helps. So basically, what this thing has, it's a trailer that can hold a couple of different size signs. And I have picked the 24-inch, I believe it is, or 27. So it's the largest sign available to go
Okay.
on this trailer. And I picked that because typically the larger the sign, the larger the words are going to be on the sign when you put a message out, or that the drivers can read their speed from a distance a little further away. So basically, this trailer, we'll be able to tow it anywhere, and if it's private property, we'll ask permission to put it on there. It has devices on it to lock it to deter theft. I've got another idea I may add to it to help with that. But again, we can set this up for any county function, message side, sign, whatever we need to put out. Plus, we can do speed as well. So what this does, it just like the little sign, it's going to act as a deterrent. The little sign gives us a report once a week, and then it'll do a monthly report if we set it up that way. And it gives all kind of data on it, like the time of day, how many cars, the largest columns of speed, and you can see that typically people they're either 5 below the speed limit, they go exactly the speed limit, or they're 5 to 6 over the speed limit is our largest group of cars that we see. So basically, people are obeying the law, the largest group. It will give you a traffic count through a certain area, so it's a sheriff's office speed study that we can use for data, and we can pinpoint, hey, we need officers in this location at this time on this road, when the trailer's not there to try to enforce traffic safety. And that's one thing that we're behind on is traffic safety. I don't have the people to put in places for a longer amount of time than what we do now. And that's kind of what my goal on this trailer is as well. But anyway, back to the trailer. I got a few more things. Again, it's powered by battery, but it's charged by solar. So it's going to have a longer life out in the field operating. And that's pretty much everything with the trailer. The radar will be calibrated in a similar manner that we calibrate our radar units. So if a deputy is actually sitting back watching the trailer and they see a car go through, they can just read the speed sign like the driver should, and then if they need to stop them, they can issue a ticket based off what they saw on the trailer.
Yeah, because that's what I've seen from them. It shows your speed. If you're within, 3 or 4 miles of it, if you're over that much, red lights are flashing.
Right, and again, that's adjustable. So if we
Yeah,
wanted to
you can-
flash 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, or 5 or 8 or 10, whatever we want to set that, we do. Typically, we put it pretty close to the speed limit to get people's attention. And again, I think the little sign works. The bad thing about the little sign is that's battery power with no solar, so we're changing batteries often, and the higher traffic, the more it's used, the more battery is drained. So sometimes if we do 360 and even Route 200, we're out there 2-3 times a week changing the battery. So it works, but it's a little bit more than us to do. The solar power on this would take care of that.
All right, gentlemen, you have any questions?
I think I heard you answer it already, but just so I'm clear, the information that this gives you is something that you could use in court.
Yeah, so if the radar is calibrated, and it should be, that's one thing that we testify to. Our radars have to be calibrated before and after our shift to make sure they are within the manufacturer's specifications. So I'm pretty sure this one will do it. If it does, then yes, we can write a summons off the speed that we see on the trailer, so long as it's calibrated when we set it up. Probably not after, but, well, yeah, we have to do it after to make sure it was correct, before and after the summons. And we've had an instance where a radar has failed in the car, believe it or not, and we come in here and say, you calibrated before, at the end of my shift, it didn't calibrate, and we tell the judge, and, you know, it's just being transparent and fair. I think one thing I didn't say, the deadline for this grant is April the 8th. And I typically like to have these at least submitted a week before. DCGS is pretty good about responding back to you if there's an issue, so we have time to fix it. Because if I wait till the day before or the day of, they may not have time to respond, and if it's incorrect, then no grant.
All right.
Does the equipment that you would be replacing have any value?
Possible. We may be able to sell some of the newer radars for, you know, a very discounted price, but that would be the only value I see. And maybe the old LiDAR, it works fine, it calibrates fine. It's just 18 years old. So yes, maybe an agency that doesn't have the funds may be able to purchase older equipment. I wouldn't expect much, though.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Well, what's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we approve.
All right, now, the amount of money that you are looking for, Sheriff
7,000.
Beecham, is what, $10,621.74?
So as a reimbursement grant, I would need the entire amount up front.
You're gonna be looking at the $37,986.93.
Yes, sir. And then the 10,000 number was showing you what the local match would be. But
Okay.
with me adding $3,000 to that match, then the county, at the end of this grant program, would be out of $7,600, whatever that number is, $7,600.
Yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, I would need the entire amount up front to purchase the equipment.
all right. Mr. Long, is that what your motion
Yes.
is going to include?
Yes.
All right. Do I have a second?
Question.
All right, I have a
Are
motion.
you comfortable using that $3,000 for this now, or do you see something else down the line that might be better used for?
Yes. I have some older, very older shotguns I need to replace. And they're going up in price, and they're probably, I haven't quoted any in a couple of years, $650 a piece. I would probably need 3 or 4. I've got about 40, as of the end of February, it was $4,300 in that account, roughly. So I'd still have $1,300 left, but, you know, it's not, that'll give me a couple of shotguns if I use the $3,000.
What do you do if your shotgun's after you retire?
Sometimes we trade them on the new ones. These older ones would be replacing just because of age. They cycle and work fine. What I want to look at with these old ones is retrofitting them to a less lethal weapon. So like a rubber round or beanbag round or something like that.
And do you dispose of them or you sell them?
The older weapons?
Yeah, once you take them out of service.
Typically, we trade those.
Trade them?
Yeah,
I heard
so-
trade, but I didn't know if you did anything else with them or not.
No.
All right, I guess I got a little bit off track, but gentlemen, we have a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on that?
Mr. Long, would you be willing to amend the motion to not include Mr. Beecham's $3,000, which would make our local match $10,621.74? And I'll second that.
Motion has been amended now. All right. Mr. Tadlock, you got something to say?
Just for clarification, this would just be to allow Sheriff Beecham to move forward in requesting the grant for this amount. It's my understanding this would
My
not be
understanding.
into next fiscal year, so any supplemental appropriation would not be done until, one, we know he's received the grant, and two, it would be done in next fiscal year. So I just wanted to make that clear.
That's correct. Yeah, we should anticipate notification mid to end of May on if we get an award letter or not,
All right,
which I'd have to bring back before the board for you, formally for you guys to approve it.
all right. That all right for everybody? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? All right, motion passes.
Thank y'all very much for your support throughout the
Um,
years and even now.
Just look for the deduction on your paycheck from now on.
What line should I look for?
Sheriff's salary. Might as well just put it on right there, straight to the point. Sheriff.
Yeah.
How about I use y'all as dependents? Would that be okay? Could I do that?
Yeah, you can use us as dependents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Tadlock.
All right, next item I have is the renewal application for the VAOAA Cooperative Partnership Grant Project. If you remember that the board had authorized the county to be part of the regional program, part of the Northern Neck Regional Jail for their MAT program, in which that was approved last year. But they are reapplying for the grant funds again this year. And as it stands now, for fiscal year 2026, it's $338,762.90. And after the Gloucester match of $10,000 and the Northern Neck Regional Jails match of $12,393, the total ask from VAOAA, is $316,369.90. They do, again, this is a regional program, and they were asking for us to sign off on this by April 1st. Actually, they need it prior to April 1st.
All right, gentlemen, any questions, comments?
I'm sorry, I missed it. There's no monies involved from Northumberland County.
That's what I was getting ready to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one good thing, there's no money involved, so. No money is involved, I'll certainly say we need to sign back on to this. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Tadlock?
If, one thing that we could possibly do later on, not with this one's already, the application is already going forward. But in the future, on any future applications, if we decide we do have the opioid monies that are very restrictive in what they can be used for. So if at any point we decide to participate financially in this, we could use those funds and
Okay.
not use any of the general funds. But as of this grant cycle, there's no county match or funding associated with it.
All right. I'll make a motion that we do sign back on to this for whenever it starts here again. What does it start, 25?
This is for the 2026 fiscal
20,
year.
20, all right, 25, 26 fiscal year, all right.
Second.
Got a motion, a second, any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, your motion passes.
The last item I have is the fiscal year 26 budget. We do have on the calendar for a budget meeting next Thursday, and I wanted to check with the board to see if you all would like to start having those budget meetings and bringing in departments and outside agencies to present. We have been contacted for several departments and outside agencies wishing to come and speak to the board. So,
Sounds good.
I think we should, John.
Yes.
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 I think we should. We don't want to delay anything. Need to get this process moving. This time is, it's getting close. And we got a lot of work to do. Whoever you want to bring in.
All right, we'll start contacting them, see who is able to attend.
All right, you have anything else, Mr. Tadlock?
That's all I have.
All right. I don't have any other items on the agenda, except we need to convene into a closed meeting. So I will entertain a motion to go into a closed meeting.
Take a break before we go into close.
Yeah, we can do that if y'all want. We can take a break here.
Short break.
We can take a 10-minute break.
All right, I need a motion that the Northumberland County Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2, 3711A1 for the discussion and consideration of personnel matters, and Section 2.2, 3711A29, discussion of the award of public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offers and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. Invited to attend the closed meeting as necessary are the county administrator and assistant county administrator, as they are deemed necessary, and their presence will reasonably aid the board in its consideration of the topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia FOIA Section 2.2, 3712F.
All right, have a motion, gentlemen?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against? All right. We're now in closed meeting, gentlemen. Turn off your microphone. All ready for a motion whenever you are.
All right, I need a motion that the Northumberland Board of Supervisors return to public meeting and certify by roll call vote that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting, were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting.
All right, I'll take a motion.
Motion made.
I'll take a second.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Brand?
Aye.
Mr. Haney votes aye. Mr. Fisher's not here. He's absent. All right. Now, I'm assuming we need for you to do is go ahead and schedule those interviews,
Yes, sir.
and you got the rest of it you can sign. Motion
I
form.
don't need any action by the board on
All right,
those.
we have anything else that we need to go over before we ask to carry this meeting over? Gentlemen, y'all got anything? Staff got anything? Mary, you got anything? Oh, did you get any more of those things? Yeah.
On my, the third, right?
Yes, sir.
Third
2:00.
at 2 o'clock.
Thank you, man.
Okay, boy. Okay, boy.
I knew you would. All right, gentlemen, we need to carry over, what was that?
It's called a Morgan. Oh.
All right. We will do something on our next meeting. We'll have something here. We need to have a motion to carry over till April the 3rd at 2 p.m. Second? You got a second onto it?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those against. All right. Thank y'all, gentlemen.